I remember getting a call from this guy who said he had a video of Ford smoking crack.
It feels like a really important moment in time. You know, it's before social media had exploded the world. It was during a time of, you know, polarization in politics, and it was tapping into that moment, but through, you know, Rob Ford's mayoralty. And I think that's an amazing way of, you know, the recent nostalgia of like the tens, and I think Rob Ford really encapsulates that. And so I thought this would be a brilliant project to be able to look at politics on a local level, but what does that tell us about, you know, the world that we live in today? And I think we can take a lot of messages, you know, from this period of time in Toronto and Rob Ford's, you know, meteoric rise, but also, you know, his eventual sort of downfall. I think it's a story about the underdog, and I think we've seen it in elections around the world. You know, for instance, here in the UK, we had the Brexit referendum, which, you know, people kind of casted off as thinking, you know, that's not going to happen. You know, in the States, there was, you know, the first election of Donald Trump, where a lot of people in the quote unquote establishment thought that he wouldn't, you know, get into power. That happened. I think there's a story of, you know, listening and to, you know, everyone around you, not just in your echo chamber. You know, Rob Ford wasn't necessarily a person who had, you know, malicious, vindictive, you know, outcomes. I think he actually seemed like he was a man of who wanted to help people, but his politics just, you know, didn't necessarily agree with half of the city. So it was a case of getting a broad understanding of who he was and not getting an understanding of who he was just through the headlines. I wanted to, you know, really tap into the human being that is Rob Ford, not the political headline that's Rob Ford. The more I did research and the more I spoke to people, the more I realized that this was a man who was struggling with addiction on a really public space and a public platform.